Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is another behind the scenes look at how I capture footage for my YouTube channel. And this time I'm going to be doing footage on something that I find particularly interesting, and this is the AVerMedia live streamer Nexus. Now this has been in my possession for a little while, but I've actually not got around to it yet, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is basically, on the face of it, an interesting alternative to the Go XLR, which is the XLR amplifier / audio mixer that I use usually for my voiceovers, but also for streaming purposes. Basically, you put your microphone into this and then other sources of audio, and then you can create an output that comes out as a broadcast mix of audio that then streams out to your audience if you're streaming on Twitch or YouTube or wherever else. And this has set up specifically for Streamlabs OBS and for OBS. And it also has a number of other interesting things that include a touchscreen interface and special pad buttons and multiple volume control mixer dials. So it looks really interesting potentially, and a really good viable alternative for the Go XLR. So I'm quite interested in seeing this one, and I really enjoy getting products that I find interesting. Sometimes you get a mouse and you think, oh, another mouse. And yes, it might be a nice mouse and it comes out to be a nice mouse. But other times you get bits of tech like this. And I'm excited to see this. There are some bits of it, I'm like, oh, why? They've got an RGB strip around the outside, for example. Seems unnecessary. But on the face of it, it looks really interesting, really nice sort of setup with the touchscreen. Obviously the most interesting thing here is going to be when it's plugged in and running, but the initial hopefully unboxing will still be interesting, and then I'm going to get into some footage of it plugged in and set up, which is obviously going to be a bit trickier, and this is obviously going to take a lot longer than it normally would because I want to get some really nice B-roll of it. Then I'm going to need to get some more footage of it plugged in and set up and all the dials set up properly, and also with it plugged in with the microphone. Then I'd like to do a comparison with the Go XLR and show them side by side and maybe talk about the differences. So I think I'll probably end up with 2 videos out of this, maybe even 3. If it's complicated to set up, I could probably do a setup video on it. I'd imagine it won't be. It doesn't look like it's excessively complicated unless we're talking about the settings for things like the noise gate and equalizer settings. But that's going to be so tricky because it depends on the person's voice and their environment. But so I've got an unboxing video potentially, a versus video with the Go XLR, a setup video maybe, and a review separately, I'm not sure, and perhaps even just a comparison with other streaming gear. Now this is embargoed for a while alongside AVerMedia's microphone, which is a XLR microphone, the live streamer Mic 330, which is not a great name, I'll be honest, but well, AM 330 if you know on the top here. But this is another thing I'll be unboxing, not tonight, because I want to test out this new device with my Shaw mic to see how it compares to the Go XLR to start with. But these are being released at the same time, which will be hopefully around the time this video is being published, alongside the actual videos. And it looks kind of interesting, potentially. It's certainly going to be an interesting alternative. It is an XLR microphone. Got the Samsung QU9 in to review as well, which is another XLR mic, but that one has USB, which should be interesting because I've done a video on the Shaw MV7 previously, which was XLR and USB as the options for setup, and that was particularly cool. So some pretty exciting audio gear here, and audio is really important for video, as hopefully you've realised by listening to the quality of my videos, although not as good as the setup is usually better than this on shirt malarkey. So it'll be interesting to see how this bad boy stacks up against the Go XLR, and also what you get in the box. So hopefully this should be an interesting unboxing, some nice B-roll shots. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it at the moment. So I'm just going to start by getting several angles, set it up, capture it coming out of the box, and we'll see how we get on. I'm going to use this camera that I'm talking into to have one view, another one out of this one, and then I'll get some more B-roll, and I'll be back in a moment. it is, out of the box. It looks pretty nice, got some nice features to it. Some of it's a bit, like this base is a bit cheap and lightweight, so we'll see. The thing itself feels kind of heavy in a nice way, and little highlights immediately that I already like the look of that I can talk about. So there's a power button, which is something that GoXLR lacks. So it's nice to be able to find these sort of features. We also have some nice labelling here, so I'm going to need to capture that to show where things go. And obviously connections for a variety of things, all recessed slightly within it. You can see around the outside it's got the RGB lighting ring and some very satisfying button sounds. On the face of it, it looks very nice, but what I'm thinking about is trying to set up for a couple of shots. I want to see what happens if you just plug in the power. Obviously in an ideal world it will probably be power and a connection to the PC to get the best possible finish on it, because you'll probably have to program the screen in with things, but I'm hoping that at least the RGB will show up and then I can show that off. If I'm really clever, I might try and get it revolving on the Lazy Susan and see if I can capture footage like that. The power cable's going to get in the way. It's usually a nightmare, that sort of thing. If that doesn't work, I'm going to set up the slider and slide around it while the lighting's on, because I think that'll look really nice. And then I'm thinking about what I'm going to do to get the best shots, and I think I'll end up with it on my desk at some point, and we'll see how that goes. Fantastic case of anticlimax if ever you saw one. Turning the thing on just results in a screen of loading, or just the AVerMedia logo, which I'm guessing is what the initial screen would be when you plug it into your PC. So I now have something that I can't really do very much with. It doesn't even look particularly interesting when used like this, so I'm definitely going to have to plug it into a PC and install software, which presents some other challenges. So here I am down on the floor again, getting down low with my slider, trying to capture some footage of this. Unfortunately the cables for both the power and the USB aren't particularly long, so I couldn't get it on my other desk very well. And so I've had to tidy up this area. You can probably see some of my shame out of the corners and cable shame, but hopefully I'll get some nice shots of it. Now it's interesting because it has a number of screens to it, so I'm going to try and make a point of that. You can slide through these and you can set them up in the software. So pretty cool little box, also smaller than the GoXLR, so that'll make for an interesting comparison, and I'll get some shots of them side by side at some point when I programmed it up a bit more, make it a bit more interesting. On paper it looks a lot more interesting than the GoXLR, but we'll see what it's like. It's pretty interesting. The problems that I have, I wish I'd been recording this doing this, because one of the things I demonstrated previously with this slider is if you don't get the legs into the right position, when the camera reaches one end of the slide, it basically starts to tilt and doesn't fall over necessarily, but it certainly tips ever so slightly if you've not got the legs at the right angle, which results in some really annoying rainbow effect where it basically does this either end. But what it's done is it forced me to move the tripod around a bit, and then I've ended up getting this really nice angle on the device. I've got this really nice angle on the live stream Nexus from here, which is pointing, basically showing half the screen and my monitor in the background, and it looks really good. I'm going to try and put some of that footage into B-roll shots so you can see it, but also to put it into the video proper. And also I'm going to try and get a bit closer, pan across on some of these buttons, do a slide across the buttons so you can see them, get an angle to be able to show the screen switching between those. and that sort of thing. But I find sometimes mistakes actually end up paying off, whether it's my fault or it's just stuff going wrong. You end up getting into new angles, new positions, working out new ideas and coming up with new ideas, and sometimes it's worth just sticking with it and persevering and trying different angles and different things and seeing how it goes, and it's been alright. I think this device looks like it's going to be really useful, so I'm looking forward to testing it out in a bit more depth, and hopefully this will give you some insight into how I've done that and gone about that. And I will probably have some fun with the software, because you can do a variety of things in there, including setting up Streamlabs, OBS, Spotify, a soundboard and all sorts. So there's loads of possibilities in here, and it should make for an interesting device, which is great because that's exactly what I thought it was going to be on paper, and now it looks like, just from initial glance at the software and things, that it's definitely going to be really cool. So be sure to check out that video. So here I am down on the floor with my slider, which I don't even think you can see. Let's get the wide angle lens instead. Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and let me move this light. Let's start that again. Oh god, I really need some better lights with better wiring. Get out of the way. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, interesting, hilarious, or all of the above. Be sure to check out the description for other information you might find interesting and useful, as well as these other videos, and click that join button to find out the benefits of being a member of my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.